Welcome to the summer smock top sewing tutorial. This is a super beginner friendly, easy, and self-drafted tutorial so you can make it whatever size you want. We've got bows on either side, a ruffle on the bottom. What's not to love? This was originally a free pattern published in the Q2 2024 issue of Material Girls, which is a fiber art magazine that you can download for free. We have a bunch of other patterns in crochet, sewing, and they're fun interviews and fiber art features and games, so make sure to check it out. To make this, you're going to need 1 to 2 meters of fabric, depending on what size you're making, a neckline facing piece, which you can download in the description, some scissors, and a measuring tape to self-draft. So let's get cutting. We're going to start by making 2 rectangles to form the top bodice pieces. So each of these rectangles, the width should be half of your chest circumference, and the length should be the length from the top of your shoulder to your rib cage, which is just below your bust. So I measured this out, I'm cutting it. Very helpful to have gingham fabric to make very straight lines, and I'm gonna end up with 2 rectangular pieces. Find the top of your bodice piece and grab that printed out pattern piece for the neckline facing, place it exactly in the middle. I measured on either side to make sure that the shoulders would be the exact same width and moved it around until that was the case to make sure it was right in the middle. Then we're going to pin it into place and cut out our neck hole using this pattern. Grab your scissors, turn it around to get a good angle, and cut all the way on the inside of this pattern piece. This will be your neck hole. So once you have that done, you can remove both that piece of fabric and unpin and remove your paper pattern piece as well. We're going to use this as a template to cut out our second bodice piece as well. So the second rectangle that you have cut out with the exact same dimensions, just place them together and you can cut exactly the same neckline. Once you have 2 identical top bodice pieces cut out, put this to the side and we're going to work on cutting the ruffled bottom pieces. This is 2 more rectangles that are the same size and you have to do some calculations. So the width is half your chest circumference multiplied by 1.25, and the length, you take the total desired length of your top and subtract the length of your top bodice rectangles. So it's just what's left. Now 2 facing pieces. So again, grab your pattern piece, free download is in the description, and we're going to cut out exactly around this template to make 2 facing pieces. This is going to help us finish off the neckline. Lastly, it's time to make a bunch of ties so that we can do bows on either side of our piece. So cut out 8 pieces of fabric. It's going to be a bunch more rectangles and they should each measure 20 inches by 3 inches. And this does not change no matter what size you're making. It would be helpful to see all of these measurements that you have to take and cut written out. All of the written pattern is included in the free download of Material Girls magazine in the description. Here's all the pieces that you should have cut out now. So I did some matching lining pieces, but this is totally up to you and how see-through your fabric is. You should have 2 top bodice pieces, 2 ruffled bottom pieces, 2 facing pieces, and 8 tie pieces. Now let's get sewing. The first step is to grab both top bodice pieces and place them good sides together. We're going to be sewing the shoulders together to attach them. So I grabbed some pins and just pinned each of those in place, and we're going to do a simple straight stitch across each shoulder piece at the sewing machine. I'm using about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, by the way. When you're done with that, you can open up your piece and we're going to finish off the neckline with our facing. So grab one facing piece and place it right sides together across your neckline so it matches up, and then take your second one on the other side, again placing right sides together, and there should be some overlap here, which is good because that's going to make it seamless all the way around the neckline. Pin that into place and we're going to begin by sewing around the entire neckline like so. This is a square neckline, so we want it to be nice and crisp. To do your corners, I recommend stopping when your needle is inside of the sewing so that you can lift up your presser foot and move your piece around without the needle changing the spot that it's in. Then you can place it down and just keep going, and there you have a crisp corner. Now we need to cut into each corner to make sure that we can flip it around correctly. So this is a little look at that. I cut straight into each corner up until where the sewing is, and we're going to flip our facing pieces now back behind onto the inside of our neckline. So grab some pins, pin those into place all the way around. I find this so satisfying, especially at the corners, because of those little cuts that we made. They just become so crisp. This is what it looks like when I have everything pinned down, and on the back side as well, everything very nice, neat, satisfying. Now we're going to do just a simple top stitch as close to the edge as possible around the whole thing to hold everything in place. Before we attach the ruffled bottom piece, we have to do some gathering on it. So we're going to sew one long line along the top, but don't backstitch at the end of it. So here I am at the front of my line, backstitching like normal to hold my thread in place. Then when I get to the end, instead of back stitching, I'm just going to lift up my presser foot and pull the thread out to cut. Grab the top bodice pieces because we're going to be matching our gathering up to this bottom point here. There are going to be some loose threads at the end where you haven't backstitched, and that's what we're going to pull the fabric along to gather things up. You can see immediately the ruffle starts to form, and you're going to keep going until it matches the width of your top bodice piece. I move my ruffles around a bit until they lay pretty evenly, exactly how I want them to, and then flip them so that we have good sides together and we can attach this piece here. So you're going to pin across the entire bottom here, and I always start from the edge where I've backstitched because that means near the end it's still loose and I can do a little making it looser or tighter or whatever it needs to match the correct length. And then we're going to do a simple straight stitch across all these ruffles. Just make sure that your stitch runs to the left of your gathering thread so that you don't see any of that on the right side. This will just pin down all of your ruffles and it'll look beautiful on the other side. The last thing we need to do on this ruffle is to do a basic hem on the edges. So all that means is turn it over to the back side, and we're going to flip over once and then flip over twice. So this hides the raw edge and makes a nice finish to the bottom of your top. So I'm pinning across the entire edge. This is a little bit finicky because I'm making such a thin hem. You can make yours a little bit bigger if that's easier, but then we're just going to stitch down the whole thing to hold everything in place. And see here, you can see how I have double folded things over. Onto the ties, we're going to fold things over so that it is right sides on the inside, wrong sides out, and do a basic stitch down the entire long edge. Then grab a safety pin, and we're going to use this to turn it right side out. So I just insert that safety pin back into the tube that we've created and kind of pull everything through until it's right side out. There will be a raw edge on either side, so just tuck those raw edges inside of the tube, and you can do a simple straight stitch to create a flat tie and hide it all inside. Now's a good time to try on your top and decide where you want your ties to hit. So I put one kind of right underneath my armpit and then one across my bust, and I just put in pins to notate where that is once I've tried it on. Now we're going to attach the ties to the bodice and finish off either side at the same time. So we start by just doing a basic hem. It's great to have these straight edges to the top. So again, just folding over once and then twice to hide the raw edge. Then I'm grabbing one of my ties, making sure that the raw edge is tucked in and just placing it right over the hem that I've already pinned in place and pinning it right over that. So when we go to sew, we can just sew straight over the hem, straight over the tie, all very seamlessly. Make sure to do this on each side, attaching two different ties at the same places so that everything matches up. We're going to get a little bit octopusy here, but it turns out really cute when you tie them together. It seems like a lot of moving parts, but you really only need 2 lines of thread to finish this all off. So we're going to start at one end of the ruffle, sew a straight line all the way down, catching each tie and every hem on the way, and then do it again on the other side, and you're all finished. Such a cute pattern for summer. I love all the bows. You can wear it over things, you can wear it on its own. I made some matching shorts. So versatile, so fun, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you're looking for some more free sewing tutorials, we've got a bunch on materialgirls.com. Each of these came out in an issue of the magazine, so you can read the magazines, you can scroll through all the cool things we've got going on in the sewing section. I hope you give it a look and enjoyed this tutorial. Tag Material Girls in your creations, and I can't wait to see. Have a great day.